Hi, today I have with me a section of a bamboo tree. Well, technically bamboo is a grass, but everybody calls it tree. So today I have with me a section of a bamboo tree. And I really want to make something special out of this in the form of bamboo cups. To be more specific, traditional Naga bamboo cups. So if you're interested to watch how bamboo cups are made, you've come to the right place, you've clicked on the right video. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is cut off the ends on the stem and then proceed to cutting off the length of the cups that I want. And I'm going to use my handsaw to cut them off. You can notice earlier this has also been cut with a handsaw. Back then in the village they didn't have this so-called handsaw, and all they did was use one single tool called a machete, similar to this one. Now this is called a dao, a Naga dao, and they used only this tool to carve out everything from the bamboo. But I'm going to use my handsaw to make it easier for me to cut off the ends and also cut off the length of the cups. Using my handsaw, you could call this cheating because I'm deviating from the traditional way of using the machete, but this is going to make my work easier, so I'm just going to use my handsaw. Now there is no standard measurement for the length of the cups. By tradition, these are handmade, so the length of the cups, you just need to eyeball it and cut out the length that you want. That is the standard. So for me, I'm going to measure out the entire width of my hands, starting from the stem, and mark it out here. That is going to be the length that I want here. This will be the length of my cup. Now turn it around, do the same. My cup is going to be this long, and the other one too, this long. I'm going to use only my dowel to clean as well as make the basic shape of the cups. No other tools, only one, the traditional Naga dowel. I'm going to start cleaning from the base and clean out the outer layer of the bamboo and work my way up to form the shape of the cup. You see how that's turning out. Fibers of the bamboo are getting exposed. The outer layer of the bamboo is not required. We have to remove this and expose the fibers, giving it the natural bamboo pattern look. Now at this point I want to level up the base first before proceeding further. The top is a little bit level, but it needs to be paired up too. So before I go on about cleaning the rest of the outer layer, I'm going to pair out the bottom level. Now that's fairly level, I'm going to proceed cleaning it even more. Now I could keep this holding on a bench vise, hold it tight, and use a spoke shape to clean out everything that I need and make the basic shape of the cup. But for the sake of keeping it traditional, I'm only going to use my dowel for the entire process of cleaning as well as shaping the cup. From here on, I'm going to need both my hands to shave off all the waste material from the cup. So I'm going to need the assistance of my knees to hold the cup as I draw out all the waste materials. It's looking extremely pretty now. Now, if you'll notice, all the shavings that I did are extremely thin. Not much of the material has been removed except for the outer layer. And in order to do that, your dowel needs to be extremely sharp, like razor sharp. If it's blunt, if it's not sharp enough, it's going to get stuck halfway through and it's going to start removing big chunks and your cut is going to look ugly. So your dowel, your blade needs to be extremely sharp in order to remove extremely thin shavings, just like you would get from a hand blade. Now that the cleaning part is done, it's time to start shaping the cup. Now the trick here is, as you chop off the waste materials from the cup, you have to try and do it in small bits, not try to remove a huge chunk right from the start. You have to start removing small bits and work your way up from there. That is how you get better results and lowers the risk of damaging your cup even before you complete it. I think that should be enough for the bottom. I'm going to start doing at the top. And if you haven't noticed, the way I'm doing it is, as I'm putting down my dowel to chop off a little piece, I am slowly rotating it bit by bit so that I can remove it all around properly. Not actually moving the dowel around, but giving the dowel in one particular location, chopping it off completely, and turning the cup as I keep chopping off the waste materials. And in order to successfully do this, you need a lot of practice. There's no other way, there's no other shortcuts. You need practice to do this continuously without causing damage to your cup. So let me do it a little bit more slow. That's how it should go. The top part is almost done. I think I need to remove a little bit more at the bottom, so let's do that first. I think that should do just fine. Now, if you can see the difference in the top rim of the cup here, by removing the materials here, it's not only for the aesthetics and the general look of the cup, but also serves a purpose for this is the rim or the brim of the cup is where you're going to drink from. So if it's as thick as this one here, it's going to be very uncomfortable for us to drink from this cup, which is the reason why we remove this, not just for the looks, not just for the design, but also for the actual purpose of drinking from it. So I think I need to remove a little bit here. Let's go ahead and do that. as you keep chopping off the waste materials, you can keep pick it up and check which areas are getting thinner, which areas are still thick enough to remove materials, and so on. I think that should do just fine. The basic shape of a cup is done. Now it's time to refine the shape and make it a little bit more smoother to the touch. And that we are going to do it again with just the dowel, not anything else. And in order to smoothen it out further, I'm going to use a different technique in order to smoothen this out, and that is going to be placing the dowel on the chopping stool and holding the cup with one hand and the other hand holding the dowel. You put it under and draw it out. It gives you a lot more control over just chopping it off down. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, I think that should do just fine for the top. Now onto the bottom. Now it's still a little bit more rough to the touch, and we need to further smoothen this out. That was also done using only the dowel. You sharpen it a little bit and then try to skim off the surface and smoothen it out as you go along the entire cup. That is not what I'm going to do. It's going to take a long time. So today here I'm going to do a little bit cheating by using a sandpaper. Now back in the old days, sandpaper did not exist, and they, like I said, they only used the dowel to smoothen it out further. But these days we have sandpaper, and lucky me, I'm going to do this way easier than they used to do back then. So let me finish this up with sandpaper. Here I have a piece of sandpaper, 100 grit. And here's a fun fact about sandpapers. Sandpapers were only commercially produced during the 1800s. And earlier I said sandpaper didn't exist to polish and smoothen out work pieces, and they used it traditionally with just machetes, with dowels. Is true because, like I said, sandpaper started getting produced commercially only during the 1800s, and Naga tradition and civilization started around the 13th century, which is, although most of history and folklore is based on oral records, no concrete evidence of written records exists, but according to the oral records, Naga civilization started from around the 13th century. So the Naga tradition and civilization is way older than sandpapers. So my earlier statement was true, and you learned something new today, not just about making cups, but a little bit about Naga history. Now let's go ahead and finish this cup. That should be enough for the side face. Now, of course, we're going to trim a little bit at the bottom and the top both, and sand the area and clean this out too. This one is done now, so I'm going to go ahead and work on the other one so that I'll have two beautiful traditional Naga bamboo cups. So both cups are done nice and smooth, and you could call this finished, but maybe in some cups you might have seen some dark pattern or dark lines all across the cup. That would look very distinctive. It might look like deliberate designs, but those markings are nothing but the result of keeping this over the fireplace. Now back then in the old days, every kitchen in the household had a fireplace, and right above the fireplace there used to be a shelf where you would store firewood, or maybe you would store meat to dry, which we call smoked meat. So on that shelf, when a maker completes a set of cups, they would tie it around together like with something like this. This is nothing but the skin drawn out from a longer set of bamboo. This is called a bamboo cane. In the old days, they didn't even have ropes to tie together, so whatever they needed to tie it down, they always used this type of bamboo canes. And whenever the maker finished making their set of cups, they would tie this together down and keep it on the shelf over the fireplace to dry it out completely. And as a result, the smoke from the fireplace would get absorbed on the cups, and the areas where the rope or the cane covers remains the same color of the bamboo, which is the reason why you get that particular design, particular pattern on the cups. Today I don't have a fireplace, but I will try to recreate that pattern on one of the cups, which is the reason why I made two. One of them I'm going to keep it as it is, and one of them I'm going to try and recreate that pattern. Even without having a fireplace, I will try to recreate that pattern using a blowtorch, a butane blowtorch. So now I will try to wrap this bamboo cane around the cup, shape or a random pattern here. And that should do just about fine. Alright, now I can tie this down from both ends. Just twist it around until they form into a tight lock. There we go. How about a little adjustments here? Okay. So this is how they would tie all the bundles, maybe 2 or 3 together. So this is how they would tie it down and keep it over the fireplace, but I'm gonna try and burn it out with a blowtorch. I'm just going to go through lightly, try not to burn as much as possible. I think that should do just about fine. I might have overdone a little bit here, but I'm gonna sand it off a little bit and we'll see. So let's untie this out and check it out. Look at that. That is the pattern that you usually see on some of the cups. This was not a deliberate design way back then, but today I just made it deliberately, trying to recreate that pattern, which makes it look a little more authentic. Now I'm going to sand this off a little bit more so that the extreme dark spots are removed and the pattern is a little bit even. This is 220 grit, and I'm not going to rub this aggressively over the pattern, but just lightly, just gently and slightly try to even out all the darker spots. Well, that's about it. In the old days, this would be considered done and finished, but I really can't resist applying a coat of polyurethane finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply one coat on each cup and make it look more shinier and pretty. Shiny and pretty. And it's finally done. So here you go, Naga traditional bamboo cups, completely handmade using only down. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching the video as much as I did making this. Comment down below which one was your favorite. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.